Let's have a recap of our previous lesson regarding medieval art. Medieval art is divided into three parts. We have Byzantine art, we have Romanesque or Romanesque art, we have the Gothic art. Also, medieval period is also called Dark Age or Middle Age. This was after the collapse of the Roman Empire.
Today's topic is Renaissance art. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, you may click the subscribe button and notifications bell so that you will be updated. And also, like us and follow us on Facebook. Let's talk about the Renaissance art. What are the characteristics of Renaissance art? Renaissance art started from 1400 up to 1600. Here are the characteristics of Renaissance art. Renaissance was the period of economic progress. The period stirred enthusiasm for study of ancient philosophy and artistic values. Italian Renaissance began in the late 14th century. It was an era of great artistic and intellectual achievement with the birth of secular art. Renaissance art was characterized by accurate anatomy, scientific perspective, and deeper landscape. Renaissance painters depicted real-life figures and their sculpture and balance.
The word Renaissance came from a word renaître, meaning rebirth or reborn or new beginning.
For now, we will discuss about the famous Renaissance artists and their artworks. Here are the four famous Renaissance artists. First in line, we have Leonardo da Vinci. His full name is Leonardo di Serpiero da Vinci, was an Italian polymath, painter, sculptor, architect, musician, mathematician, engineer, inventor, anatomist, geologist, cartographer, botanist, and writer. He is widely considered to be one of the greatest painters of all time and perhaps the most diversely talented person ever to have lived. His famous artwork is Mona Lisa. The Mona Lisa is a half-length portrait of a woman by the Italian artist Leonardo da Vinci, which has been acclaimed as the best known, the most visited, and the most written about, the most sung about, the most parodied work art in the world. Another famous artwork is the Virtruvian Man. The Virtruvian Man is a pen and ink drawing done on paper with a wash-over metal point accompanied by handwritten notes. In the drawing, two male figures are superimposed upon each other. The figures are shown with arms and legs extended in differing degrees of extension. One figure shows the legs slightly apart and the arms extended straight out from the shoulders. Now, let's analyze this figure. The other figure shows the legs moderately spread and the arms extended partway above the shoulders. In both figures, the head and the torso are completely superimposed. The male figures are inscribed within a circle and square showing geometric proportion of the human body.
Leonardo da Vinci was the famous Renaissance artist during that time because he has too many degrees. Okay? Kagaya ng mga nabanggit ko, marami siyang mga achievements at natapos. So let's go now to this Virtruvian Man. This portrays the balance and proportion of human anatomy. The circle and the square, ito yung nagsilbi niyang guide para makapag-drawing ng isang tao in perfect shape and perfect form.
Another famous artwork and the controversial was The Last Supper.
The Last Supper of Jesus Christ, painted by Leonardo da Vinci. Also, the most controversial painting of all time. This because of Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code. There are so many controversials and secrets na pinakita doon sa film or movie na Da Vinci Code.
The next one, we have Michelangelo. His full name is Michelangelo di Lodovico Buonarroti Simoni, commonly as Michelangelo. He was an Italian sculptor, painter, architect, poet, and engineer of the High Renaissance who exerted an unparalleled influence on the development of Western art, considered the greatest living artist in his lifetime. He has since been held as one of the greatest artists of all time. His famous artwork is The Creation of Adam, a fresco painting by Italian artist Michelangelo, which forms part of the Sistine Chapel ceiling, painted in 1508 up to 1512. It illustrates the biblical creation narrative from the book of Genesis, in which God gives life to Adam, the first man. The next one, we have the Pieta. The Pieta is the portrayal of pain that had always been connected with the idea of redemption, as represented by the seated Madonna holding Christ's body in her arms. Another one, we have David by Michelangelo. It is a 5.17 meter or 17 feet marble statue of a standing male nude. The biblical hero David, favored subject in the art of Florence. Originally commissioned as one of the series of statues of prophets to be positioned along the roofline of the east end of Florence Cathedral, the statue was placed instead in a public square outside the Palazzo Vecchio, the seat of civic government in Florence, in the Piazza della Signora or Signoria, where it was unveiled on September 8, 1504.
Now, alam niyo naman ang dahilan kung bakit tinanggal yung statue ni David doon sa cathedral. Okay? You know what is the reason behind it? Kung tignan niyo pa lang sa statue na yon, alam niyo na kung bakit. And also, don't be mistaken by another David that was made by Donatello or Donato Bardi.
Another artwork or sculpture by Michelangelo is Dusk and Dawn. Here are the descriptions. Dusk lies featureless with unfinished feet, hands, and head. Along with night, Dawn is the only female nude by Michelangelo ever sculpted. A youthfully smooth yet powerful body turns towards the observer. Her features are by no means serene. The dark eyes are deep set in their shadowy sockets. She wears a turban and a band around her chest in the style of slaves' garments.
Dawn is the only or was the only female sculpture made by Michelangelo. Kung papansinin niyo lahat ng mga gawa ni Michelangelo, mas madami siyang nagawang sculpture kaysa painting. He focused more on doing sculpture than painting. Okay?
We have number 3, Raphael. Raphael's full name is Raffaello Sanzo da Urbino, also known as Raphael in English, was an Italian painter and architect of the High Renaissance. His work is admired for its clarity of form, ease of composition, and visual achievement of the Neo-Platonic ideal of human grandeur. Together with Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci, he forms the traditional trinity of great masters of that period. His famous artwork is the Sistine Madonna. The Madonna holds her child as she floats on a swirling carpet of clouds. She is flanked by Saint Sixtus and Saint Barbara. At the fourth of the painting are two angels, the cherubs. Another one, the School of Athens. This was the second fresco completed in the room and depicts Raphael's interpretation of philosophy as a branch of knowledge, showing a gathering of Greek philosophers engaged in various activities. The fresco is considered a prime example of High Renaissance art and considered Raphael's masterpiece. Another famous artwork by Raphael is the Transfiguration of Jesus. Is an event that reported in the New Testament when Jesus is transfigured and becomes radiant in glory upon a mountain. it was Raphael's last painting on which he worked on up to his death.
Observe this painting by Raphael, the Transfiguration of Christ. Here portrays Christ's transfiguration or pagbagong anyo niya into glory or glorified body. Then, sa kanyang tabi, lumabas or nagpakita sina Moses at Enoch. So, sino yung mga original na nakakita sa transfiguration or pag-transfigured ni Christ? It's no other than Peter, James, and John. Okay? That's according to the Bible.
Number 4, the last one, we have Donatello. His real name is Donato Bardi. He was an early Renaissance sculptor from Florence. He is known for his work in bas relief, a form of shallow relief sculpture. He studied classical sculpture and used this to develop a fully Renaissance style in sculpture, whose period in Rome. He worked in stone, bronze, wood, clay, stucco, and wax, and had several assistants, with 4 perhaps being a typical number. His famous artworks is David. David is the title of 2 statues of the biblical hero David by the Italian early Renaissance sculptor Donatello. They consist of an early work in marble, clothed figure, and a far more famous bronze figure that is nude between its helmet and boots, and dates to the 1430s or later. Both are now in the Museo Nazionale del Bargello in Florence.
Here is another David by Donato Bardi or Donatello. So, magkaibang-magkaiba ito sa gawa ni Michelangelo na David din ang pangalan ng sculpture. But, the difference is, the David by Michelangelo is made out of marble and mas malaki ito. And if you compare it to the David sculpture by Donatello Bardi or Donato, this is only small, but is made out of bronze.
Another famous artworks of Donatello, the statue of Saint George. Saint George was a patron saint of the Armorers Guild and was known as military figure, one who was well known in the Byzantine East, who was also known by the Crusaders who battled Muslim forces in the Holy Land.
During the medieval period, usong-uso yung mga tinatawag natin na mga guild. Yung mga guild noon, kagaya ng Armorers Guild. So, naging mahilig na ako sa medieval period or nagkaroon lang ako ng interest sa medieval period when I played the online game, Ragnarok. That is when I was in high school.
Another one, the Feast of Herod. The Feast of Herod is a bronze relief sculpture created by Donatello way back in 1427. It appears on the baptistry of the Siena Cathedral in Italy. It is one of Donatello's earliest relief sculptures and his first bronze relief. In these artworks shows the head of John the Baptist, the Christian martyr, presented to Herod.
Okay, let's go now to the trivia. While I'm discussing the 4 famous Renaissance artists, have you figured out these 4 names? Parang familiar sa inyo, parang narinig nyo na. Okay? Saan palabas ng TV? Saan movie ba nyo ito napanood? Alright? Eto na.
Let's go now to Trivia 101. Did you know the 4 characters of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was named after the Renaissance artists? Who are they? First, Leonardo from Leonardo da Vinci. We have Donatello from Donato Bardi. We have Michelangelo from Michelangelo Lodovico Simoni. And we have Raphael or Raphael Urbino.
Did you know Renaissance period was also called the Golden Age? It's because knowledge increases. Dito rin nagkaroon ng maraming inventions. Gaya ng tinatawag natin na printing press that was invented by Johann Gutenberg. And also, the inventions of the famous inventor, Leonardo da Vinci. Did you know, during the Renaissance period, was also the rise or birth of the Protestant Church. It was spearheaded by one of the famous Christian reformists, Martin Luther. If you learned something in our video presentation, you may comment below on what you have learned about the Renaissance art. Thanks for watching and God bless us all.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and bell for notifications. And also, like us on Facebook, The Hobbyist Artist.